Well, hello everyone. I am hoping that everybody could hear me. We had some problems backstage before we went on live here. And in the last second, I think I resolved the issue, but I'm not quite sure. So I hope everyone can hear me. I hope everyone can see me, but I also hope everybody can hear me as well. All right. Well, back with you again on Monday night. We did make it have to be near 7. That kind of fit everybody's time frame a little bit better rather than the 6:30 time, at least 6:30 my time. I don't know where everybody else is. But we are going to be talking about Mystery Science Theater. We did the pre-recorded show for the podcast, and now we're going to be taking your comments, but loosely taking your comments because, of course, you don't have to necessarily talk about Mystery Science Theater 3000. We can talk about kind of anything we want, but more or less Mystery Science Theater. But you're welcome to ask any question, talk about anything you would like to talk about. Okay, so with that said, let me bring on my very special guests. Thrash Pondo Pons, how are you?
I am relatively not unwell, thank you for asking.
I gotcha. And our special guest this week is the unapologetic geek, otherwise known, aka Eric, aka Tug, aka the unapologetic geek, aka Mr. McGill, aka who are you?
Those are all nicer than most of my high school nicknames, so I'll go with those.
Okay, all right, yeah.
The one good nickname I had in high school was Gotama. They would call me Gotama because I was wise.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like Siddhartha Gautama?
Yeah, like Buddha, Gotama Buddha.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha. Siddhartha. Well, cool. Well, let's go ahead and say hi to people who are here right now. We still haven't figured out what's going on with. Can you highlight stuff yet? Or no? Nope, can't do it. Okay, so let's say hi, Ian, Thrash, and Tug.
Hey, Lance.
I can still read though. Hi, Lance.
Oh yeah, you can still read. I'll put them up there and you can read them.
Daryl Johnson's in the house. My other brother Daryl says this isn't the slacker zone, so hit the like button. Thanks.
Yes, please hit the like button.
Tom the Hungry Trick says hi, guys. Hi to you too, Tom.
Hello, Tom. Glad to see you here with us. And then
Tracy Ross Myers in the house says hi, everyone.
Hello. Lots of friendly faces out there.
Yes, for sure. Oh, I think we might be caught up. I think people are kind of expecting me not to be doing this anymore or whatever, because I've kind of missed the last few in a row and had a little bit of a falling apart and pulling myself back together again.
We all go through it sometimes. I understand.
Yeah. And let's see. We're going to first comment as well.
John Collins is in the house and he says, Ian, you're probably going to have to open up the discussion very broadly because Mystery Science is a very niche entertainment property.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is kind of the focus of the show. But you're right, it is niche. And then I did say, maybe you just got here, I did say that the audience can steer the questions to whoever they want to steer them to, and then whatever we'd like to talk, whatever questions or whatever with what we're talking about here. Okay, so
Danny Stating says, greetings from South Carolina.
Hello.
Oh, and I liked.
I like that you liked.
That you liked as well. Sounded a little Marvin the Martian there.
Ooh, you're making me very angry. Oh, have I showed you this, guys?
Mm-hmm.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Marvin the Martian.
He was always my favorite. Always my favorite.
Kaboom.
Yeah.
The Bufordistic space modulator. Isn't that lovely? Sorry. I was gone for a moment, but I'm back. I'm
There's one
better
thing
now.
that I forgot to mention about Mystery Science Theater the last time we were talking, and that is, have you seen Mystery Science Theater annotated? Have you ever seen that? It's on YouTube.
No,
I have not.
So
Didn't know that
I have
existed.
not. I have not.
it's every joke is explained in a little bubble. So every joke will have a little bubble next to it.
So it's
Like
kind of
that
So
like
old
those
show,
old pop-up videos from
exactly on
VH1.
MTV. Good idea. Must be very time
yeah,
consuming.
I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they're doing it on every single one of them, but every joke. So like if they make a reference and like this was a sports star or this was a whatever. So then you know like when they make a reference to all to that. Let's read this comment here.
Tracy Rossmeyer says, I'll tell you guys a story here on my end. That's why I'm stressed. I supposedly got a promotion, but I haven't received the offer letter yet, so I'm kind of tearing my hair out.
Oh, Tracy, well don't tear your hair out, but I'm sad you're stressed. Calm down, take some deep breaths. And but I'm glad you got your promotion, at least potentially, and I hope that you get your letter soon. So we're all pulling for you for sure. And let's see. Here we go.
Lance Chafin says, my favorite MST3K is Space Mutiny.
I do. That
I,
is a good one.
I don't know that one. Please fill me in.
It was the first South African science fiction film ever made. Possibly the only South African science fiction film, that's all, folks, film made to date. And
Not
all
counting
of the
Neil
special...
Blomkamp.
All right, so not the only one to date. But all of the special effects were stolen shamelessly from episodes of Battlestar Galactica. So the jokes literally write themselves.
Yeah. Okay. I think I know which one you're talking about. I think I know that movie, but I don't think I saw the Mystery Science Theater one of it. Who's in it? Is it Joel or Mike?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's one of those, yes.
It sounds more like a Mike one because
I think it probably was. Yeah.
I think it was Mike, and half the movie is them coming up with creative names for the hero, like Dirk Manchest and stuff like that, the whole way through. Because he's just like super buff. He looks like an 80s surfer dude. It's like crazy. Wajamin is in the house. Says hello, everyone.
Hello, Wajamin. Glad you could be joining us. Another thing I forgot to mention about Mystery Science Theater last time we were talking was the fact that, do you remember when Comedy Central was doing half shows, half Mystery Science Theater shows? They'd play the
Yeah,
first half, and then they'd play the second half the next day. And so you would just get an hour of Mystery Science Theater a day rather than a 2 hour one. Well, I think they're still doing the 2 hour one on Saturday, but they were doing it in repeat. Yeah.
And it was like every day, so like 7 days a week. Like
Yeah.
from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, it was that MST3K hour.
Yeah.
So you get to see it every day. I remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen more half episodes than I've seen whole episodes because of that.
Oh. Do you have any collections, Tug? Do you have any DVDs or VHSs or anything of Mystery Science Theater?
I own the movie, where they did This Island Earth, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only one I have.
That's the one that let's see, which one is that?
That's the riff tracks,
of course.
Oh, the riff tracks. We forgot to talk about This Island Earth. Did you have it on DVD or VHS?
I'm pretty sure it's on DVD. It might be on VHS, but I'm pretty sure it's DVD. I've only got like 12 VHSs left.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I've gotten rid of no, actually I have a lot of them back at my old home, but I mean some of the more classic ones I put out, but on my display case. Yeah, I mean I was slow to do updates. So I remember when like Hollywood Video were selling all their VHSs to make room for their DVDs and Blu-rays, and then suddenly they weren't going to do VHSs anymore. I went and I bought a ton of them. I was just like, these guys are stupid, selling all these,
No, that's ironic because that's how I got my DVD collection. How I updated was when Hollywood Video and Blockbuster were going out of business. We would literally drive from place to place and just buy 10 DVDs for $2.
Right.
So
yeah.
all the VHSs we had, we kind of were able to upgrade them to DVDs really, really cheaply and easily. So most of my DVDs are actually rental copies. Yeah.
and then how much of those do you actually use these days? Hardly. When was the last time you popped in a DVD?
This morning.
Actually, I do use them a lot for my channel when I'm doing certain things on my channel. But yeah, not nearly as often as I used to.
Valid.
What about you, Thrash? You said this morning?
This morning, yeah. I had broken out an old unit. It was a combo unit, VHS Kaputnik, but the DVD was still working, or so I thought. And I filled it with it this morning, and I popped in my Criterion edition of Things to Come by H.G. Wells. And by Jiminy, I got it to work. Good. So I was watching DVD only a few hours prior to now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't really remember the last time I put in a DVD. I mean, it's been a long time since I put it. Everything, I spent all my time looking at Netflix and wondering what show I'm going to watch. That's what I do for an hour.
Right.
I
the scrolling show where you're scrolling, decide what you're going to watch.
That's kind of what it's turned into. But I do remember the days when I would basically do the same thing on VHS or DVD. I was like, I want to watch this, I want to watch that, I want to watch this, I want to watch that. And same thing happened. All right, I got a comment from John Collins.
John Collins says, Bob, have you changed your location? John et al., you folks will probably remember this. This is my fortress of solitude. This is the den of obsolescence, the Dragon's Back, otherwise known as the Bridge. It's my garage, which I converted into a library, viewing room, my wife's laundry room, et al. And because John, if it's not really in shot, but you can see this is the wall of old console TVs, each one with its own purpose. Yes, now that I have the laptop, which is a little more portable than my personal computer, I can actually film in any room in the house. And it's been unseasonably warm. In fact, today it was in the 50s. So I'm like, what the heck? I want to actually broadcast from my garage.
Right
or
on.
The Bridge.
Now listen. Now you said something there. You said a couple things there that are too funny for me to pass up. You said each TV has its own purpose. Aren't they all for watching?
Well, okay, I'll go over a brief overview, and I actually do a post on this. But I'll do a brief overview. They're out of shot, but there's 1, 2, 3 TVs right here. Nintendo, Sega, and an old Atari Asteroids single unit. That's the first 3. This TV is a DVD player. The one next to it is a VCR player. The one next to that has a built-in DVD input, but the tray is broken. So it plays one movie because I can't get it out. It plays, you guessed it, Night of the Living Dead. Because that was what was in it when I was watching it. And then there's one last TV on the outer edge, and that plays an old Joust, I want to say. Yeah, Joust and Defender. One of those little dual games I bought ages ago. Cool. Yeah, so each one of these TVs has a separate and distinct purpose.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. All right. I mean, I knew there was something to it, but I'm like, what's going on? Each one's for its own reason. Like, it's just like this one plays movies, and this one plays movies, and this one.
That's yeah. You could look at it that way too.
It's a good load-bearing shelf, though.
Well, it has been so far. I live in fear one day I'm going to come down and the whole thing is going to go because this was designed for gardening tools. not for 9 console TVs. The fact that it's held up for the last 6 years does not mean it's going to go for another 6, but I'm a gambler.
Yeah, right.
You just got to get enough VHSs underneath it to hold it up.
I do. There's a stack of VHS right here.
Yeah. Right.
In fact, let's see what I got here. Oh, there's a copy of Things to Come. This copy of Things to Come, by the way, was one of the first half dozen tapes I ever bought. I bought it from an old Woolworth and Woolco when I was like a junior in high school. Still got it. But enough of my den. Oh, Superplex says hashtag rewind.
Do you? Is he talking about the
hashtag remind from Dave's channel?
Oh, okay.
Wrong channel, Zoop.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing that. I don't have. I mean, we could, but I won't send you the magazine.
You want a penguin?
No.
The irony is Lance would win.
But maybe he's talking about like rewind, like Be Kind Rewind, or something like that.
Maybe. I think you give him too much credit. But
do you remember that where you had to be kind and rewind?
And they would put bees on the boxes. They'd be kind, rewind.
I didn't get that either.
Local video stores in my area used to put bees like bzzz, next to that, so you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I get the be kind." And it was a 50-cent fee if you didn't rewind. They would charge your account 50 cents.
I remember that. I do remember that. Same. Did you have a rewinder, or did you just use your VHS?
I just used a VHS.
Yeah. I didn't.
My grandparents had one, like had a rewinder, and I thought it was really fancy because I was 12.
Yeah.
Did it look like a car when you turned it on? The headlights went on. Those are the coolest.
Yeah, it did.
I do remember those ones as well. I do remember those ones. Yeah, the rewind machine. I never did that.
Danny Staten says there is also a new MST3K. Oh, I'm sorry, MST4K reboot. 12 episodes so far.
Oh, interesting. Well, I know that there's a new Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
They did have more episodes in 2022. I haven't seen them though.
Oh, I haven't seen hardly any of the new. I think maybe I've seen like two of them in about 15 or 20 minutes of each one, and I was just not happy.
It's just not the same.
No,
it's not. But the movies are pretty good. They have At the Earth's Core, they have Yongri, they have the Land That Time Forgot. Ooh. So you can actually if you can sink your teeth into the movies, you can get through them. And I don't think Jonah's bad. He's just not Mike or Joel.
Yeah. I don't think Jonah's bad. It just didn't hold my attention. You know what I mean? It just didn't grab me. But that's hard to do these days, anyway.
Oh, I remembered that movie I was talking about. It was George Sanders, where he runs afoul of the satanic biker gang who have skulls painted on their helmets.
Right.
And it's called Psychomania from 1968 in the UK.
Well, I remember one of my favorite Mystery Science Theaters was Wild Rebels. Remember Wild Rebels?
No.
That was a good one. Where a guy who's a race car driver gets recruited by the police to infiltrate a biker gang of 3 people.
All the big gang.
Maybe it's 4. It was 2 girls and a guy. It was 2 girls and a guy. And
must have really saved on the cast.
That's even like smaller than the Mad Max gang,
Yes. And they did this thing. It was so funny that because they did a breakfast cereal parody of Wild Rebels. And they're like, Wild Rebels, Fruity Tooty Rebels. Like, and every box of Rebels comes with like a prize inside. Like one of them came with the sawed-off shotgun, and the other one came with a broken pull cue with the leather strap. It was pretty funny. All right, let's see what we got here.
Zuberlick says, I saw a bit of Red Zone Cuba, and I thought it was the biggest piece of crap ever.
Well, did you see well, of course, that's part of why they make fun of it. I mean, I don't know if you're saying you saw Red Zone Cuba
by
like
itself.
Red Zone
Yeah.
Cuba, yeah, because it is horrible. Or if you saw, Red Zone
It's kind
Cuba,
of the point.
Mystery Science Theater. Yeah, Mystery Science Theater. One of my favorite ones. Go ahead.
Well, Coleman Francis did that movie. In fact, Coleman Francis made a few movies back at the time. He was this guy, I guess he had served in the military. When he got out, he didn't know what to do with himself. So he started making low-budget films. And he was, much like many of the commando filmmakers of the time, he would, whatever he had available, whatever resources, he would take those and make them germane to the plot. Like, I guess his neighbor gave flying lessons and had a plane. And that's why in the Coleman Francis movies, by and large, there's something to do with a plane. Either they're flying somewhere or heisting something in a plane. But it's because, he had access to a plane. And planes are pretty cool. So we'll somehow jockey that into the plot.
Yeah.
Superplex goes on to say, the only South African film I can recall was The Gods Must Be Crazy, and a direct slap in the face to The Gods Must Be Crazy 2.
So did you see The Gods Must Be Crazy too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you see
a slap in the face? I don't recall anything about it, but I did see it.
Yeah.
One was far superior.
Yeah. One, you mean one of them, or number one was far
number
superior?
One. Yeah, number one. Number one was number one.
Yes. All right. Gods Must Be Crazy. Yes, of course. The Coke bottle that falls from the sky.
Right.
And all they do is fight over it.
Troy Thoros-Meyer says, very close to riff tracks.
Very close. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, Tracy. Like, are you like you like it a lot, or you're very close to like watching it or something like that?
I'm not sure. Very close to an episode. Maybe that's
or does she think it's very close to MST3K?
Oh yeah,
that's probably what she means.
Close but no cigar. Tom says MST 3000 is on Pluto TV.
Yeah,
what's Pluto? Yeah. That's a new one to me.
Oh, is Pluto's new to you?
It's Mickey Mouse's dog.
One.
Well, I know that. Yeah.
It used to be a former.
It's still a planet in my heart. Don't say it.
They do a whole Rick and Morty on that. No, it's a planet. Damn you! I don't care what I don't care what Degrassi says. It's a planet.
It's a planet to everybody.
Yes.
I think they just went the wrong way. They said, there's other objects in the solar system that are bigger than Pluto. Well, fine, make them planets. We'll have 13 planets. That's fine. I can live with that.
Yeah.
Don't make Pluto not a planet.
Just give us extra planets.
Right, exactly. That's fine.
Well,
more inclusive.
There's that planet they're not telling us about. Oh no, wait! I've said too much. The Men in Black are coming in.
I think, as I recall, how they discovered Pluto was that there was one of the planets was pulling, like in a weird orbit, and then they couldn't figure out why it was pulling in a weird orbit, and they discovered Pluto was the gravitation of Pluto was pulling it in a certain direction.
Yeah, they proved it mathematically before they ever saw it.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
That's a lot of stuff. That's what dark matter is, actually.
Exactly. That is exactly what dark matter is. It's like it feels like a rounding error, but a really big one.
Yeah. They don't. People say, "Oh, there's darkness." Like, well, it's not. We've never really seen it. It just they say it must exist because there's not enough mass in the universe to keep it together. So there must be some kind of matter, dark matter that we haven't seen yet. That if gravity is in fact the force that keeps things together.
Right.
So what if we
I
found
don't
out
know.
to grab?
I don't know. What's the matter with you?
Thanks.
Let's move on.
Sorry. Kenneth Wilkinson is in the house, and he says, "Good evening, Tug, Bob, and Ian C." And not necessarily in that order.
Oh, I like that
well,
order.
That's good.
You would, yeah.
I don't have any problem with that order whatsoever.
Works for me.
Whatsoever.
You could just say you're best for last, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey.
Teb is in the house, and Teb says, "Hello, happy President's Day." Hey, our president went to the Ukraine, huh? Pretty hardcore, huh?
Cool.
Sure.
Our president went to the right.
Yeah.
Let's get political all of a sudden.
I'm just saying he went there. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I did name my son Thomas after Thomas Jefferson, so I do have politics in me. I just don't express it very often.
Yeah, I get it. So do I. It's just like, I don't want to talk about it here. Let's talk about something happy.
Like the war in the Ukraine.
Yay!
Right.
Ooh. Lance Chafin says, "Guys, pray for me for my yearly food stamp renewal going Thursday."
Okay, will do. I will definitely lift that up for you, my friend. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, good evening. There's something long there.
Teb says MST3K began life in 1988 as a local show on a Minneapolis independent TV station.
Yes, it did. And it's kind of weird because when I think of Mystery Science Theater, I think of it as a 90s show. At least I was exposed to it in the 90s, not in the 80s at all. And it wasn't until later when I went back and watched some of those earlier episodes that, and they didn't have TV's Frank on those early episodes, which I really like TV's Frank. I think TV's Frank's funny. I like Dr. Forrester too, don't misunderstand, but I think TV's Frank's hilarious. I think he's the best one on I think it was Red Zone Cuba, where was it Red Zone Cuba or was it another one where TV's Frank's like, "Hey, have you ever been in 50 large with the mob?" and then he tells the mob at the door that Dr. Forrester is Frank. So here's Frank. He points at him. That's one of the best ones. Let's see. I don't know. So I can't believe you haven't seen the annotated ones. Those are the best ones. I like those a lot because the annotated ones. Yeah, you do. Because there's a lot of references that I don't get, especially. Especially when they get into like sports references, I don't quite get those as much because I wasn't really a big sports fan. So sometimes those will slip through, which is crazy.
Anybody who tells you they understand 100% of the references on MST3K, they've got to be lying to you. Nobody does.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a whole I know it's a whole team of writers. Yeah. It's just like they're all they're all drawing from everything that they know. I heard somebody learning a foreign language one time, and they said, "Oh, you know the foreign language when you understand all the jokes." And I'm like, I don't even understand all the jokes. I don't know what you're talking about. And English is my first language, and there's plenty of jokes I don't get.
So the great thing about MST3K is, if you don't get the joke, you think they're just being irreverent. Like you think there's, like they say absurd. On Archer. Yeah. Are you just saying random words? There were a lot of times that it's like the Knights Who Say Knee. For years, I thought, the Knights Who Say Knee, very funny, and then someone explained the joke to me, and I died. There have been a lot of times on MST3K, I haven't got the joke. I just thought they were saying funny things, and then I find out what they were saying months or years later, and I laugh at it again. So it actually works on two different levels.
Right. So you're gonna have to explain the Knights.
I was like, "There's an explanation for the Knights Who Say Knee."
I haven't told you guys this story.
No,
you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. Well, we all know the scene I'm referring to from Monty Python, The Holy Grail, correct?
Right.
Obviously,
Yes.
We are the knights who say "knee," and I thought, oh, what a funny thing! They're just knights who go around saying "knee, knee." Right? Well, turns out that during the Crusades, now of course you know there were different orders of knights. There was the Knights of Saint John. There was the Knights of Saint Mark. There were all kinds of different orders of knights. There was from Syria, I believe. There was an order of Christian Arabs, and they were the Knights of Hussein, or the Knights Husseini. Now,
Oh.
Terry Jones is a scholar on Middle Eastern history, and he saw this Knights Husseini, and it became a thing. We are the Knights Husseini, and it just but I didn't know the answer to that joke. I didn't know the explanation until 20 years after I had seen it when I was in high school.
Right.
And my buddy, we were in a Hollywood video. My friend, who was another history buff, explained it to me. I'm like having convulsions, like my lungs are collapsing. I'm laughing so hard because it's like 20 years and I finally got the joke.
Right. Isn't that weird how you can find something so funny and like repeat it? Like I've been repeating it my whole life pretty much. And to know that there's actually an explanation for the joke that I'd never got, that's amazing.
Right. I feel the same way. And that does happen in Mystery Science Theater too. I mean, I remember one of them. Do you remember the big spider one? The I can't remember the movie, but it was the one about the big spider and
giant spider invasion.
Yeah, they throw this guy down on the table, and he's all sucked up. And they go, Mortimer Snurd. And like I died laughing. I mean, I didn't know that was a reference to. I didn't, but I mean, I thought it was funny. I don't know, but you know, But later I found out that was like an old television puppet, and that was the name of the puppet. So, but yeah, I just you laugh at certain things, even sometimes if you don't even understand them, it still strikes you as funny. You know. All right, let's see.
Tom says, still have a Betamax. It works. That's crazy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. If I could go back in time, I would sink all my money into Betamax and ColecoVision. And
Why?
I'd be a millionaire today.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Because I make bad decisions even when I know the outcome.
I'm a gambler.
It's like you go back in time to bet on sporting events, but you still bet wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
I bet on the 85 Patriots.
Yeah. Betamaxes were great. Did you have a Betamax? No, nope. Neither one of you. Neither did I. But I mean, I actually got. I always tell people I was late for everything. I actually got a VHS after the Betamax war and VHS war were over. And do you remember the Blu-ray, the blue and the red DVD?
It was like the high def DVD. It was like HD DVD or something like that.
Yeah, HD and Blu-ray. What is the damn difference between those two things? Like, isn't Blu-ray HD?
It was just the way it was encoded, I think. I don't think there's any like really discernible difference from like the quality of what you see. I think it was just the way it was digitally put together.
Oh, did you have to have a special HD player?
You did, yeah.
I see. Okay, so if you had an HD player, then you had to buy HD.
Right, it was like a compatibility thing. Yeah.
I get it. Okay, all right. I never even got into that. I always had a Blu-ray. I was just like, well, Blu-ray seems to be fine for me, you know. So
yeah, I was very late to that. I didn't buy a Blu-ray player until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And yet now I still mostly use DVDs just because that's what my collection is, and because when I do my videos, Blu-ray is much harder to rip than DVDs are. So.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah. I.
Not that I do that. That would be illegal.
Heaven forfend.
I think I might have to call the police or something.
Ripping them actually is not illegal. You can own your own digital copy. That's fine.
Oh yeah. I do that with audio, with video to audio. Like if I
Oh
want to
yeah.
listen to it. Now I don't, because I used to do it a lot on YouTube. I'd rip the audio out and then just make it just make an audio copy for me to listen to, an MP3 for me to listen to. I don't have to do that anymore because went YouTube Red when Red came out for the Karate Kid or the Cobra Kai series.
Right, Cobra Kai.
And so you can listen offline. You can listen to it offline, not offline, but you can listen to it like without it being
you can turn off,
box.
you can have it on your phone, but you can turn off your phone and just drive away and you can still listen to it. Yeah, I have premium, same thing.
Oh yeah.
Teb says MST3K went national when it was picked up by the Comedy Channel back when the network was owned by HBO, before merging with Viacom's Ha to become what we know today as Comedy Central.
Yeah, and I remember when Ha was
Thank you,
was before Comedy Central. There was a comedy channel called Ha, and then I think they changed their name to Comedy Central. And I used to watch that like crazy. VH1 and Comedy Central, because I was getting old, apparently. VH1 had better shows. I think, of course, there was always TRL Live on MTV, but they didn't play the whole videos. They stopped playing the whole videos, and some of their shows over on MTV were just, I don't know. I didn't care for them a whole lot. But the shows on VH1 tended to be like, behind the scenes of bands and stuff like that. So
Behind the Music, that was a great show. Yeah.
Oh yeah. One of my absolute favorites. Let's see.
I just saw this in the comments. I want to make a request. Cool's Reviews just said, if you can find it, back at 8:34 p.m., he says, Joel started out as a stand-up comedian. He did prop comedy of all things. We actually spoke to that with the last show. I remember him. He did that a couple of times on SNL and was brilliant. But the funniest part of that is followed up by Skip Rock Jr., who says, I keep tapping it like it's going to actually work. Skip Rock Jr. Oh, and hello to you, both of you, by the way. Skip Rock Jr. says he caused a bomb scare when housekeeping in his hotel room saw his prop sticks of dynamite. And I had never heard that anecdote before. And that is like awesome sauce. I had never heard that. That's Skip Rock Jr. Great factoid.
Cool. Yeah. Interesting.
And John Collins goes on to say, Bob, do you have one TV I'll come in again. Bob, do you have one TV somewhere else which is for normal, glorious purpose of watching programming on a regular basis? Yes, everywhere else but this room. This room, and I'm not making this up, my garage is the only room in my house which does not have cable television. All the bedrooms, all the family rooms, you can watch regular cable TV on all those other rooms. I never had it in the bother to put it out in my garage, which means the room that I use most for viewing and has the most TVs is the only room which doesn't have cable. Oh. Hence my terming it, and I stole this shamelessly from the late great Harlan Ellison, rest in peace, the Valley of Obsolescence.
Wow. Good name.
I like it too. Azupalex goes on to say there were also video cassette players that would play tapes but couldn't record. I remember those. Those. The cheapos.
They couldn't record. Those were cheaper ones.
Tom goes on to say, bought my first VCR for $318, cheapest one on the market.
Yeah, now, like, I remember at the end there, they were like, what, $50 or something like that?
And now I bought one at a Salvation Army for $6.
Yeah, you can get them real cheap now if you know where to look. Yeah.
Right.
Teb says, this is something not related to MST3K. What are your thoughts on the recent passing of Richard Belzer?
Sad.
It
of course.
Sad.
Anytime you see that, it's sad. I believe he was in an episode of Arrested Development. Are you Arrested Development fan? I know Thrash. You're not really hip to it.
I've watched it a couple times. I do really like it. I don't remember if Richard Belzer's on there or not.
So he played a part on there that he was trying to get information on George Bluth, obviously,
right?
And he tricked Tobias Funke into going to, it was the booking room, but he put scrap booking room on it. And,
I remember it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
and Tobias Funke goes there for the scrap booking. and then they have the scrapbook, and they're like, and this is for your family secrets, and this is for your documents, and he's like, I know where some documents are, and he's like, great. It's like, we'll fly you there in a helicopter. It's like, this is the best scrapbooking room ever.
Lance Javen says MST3K Godzilla versus Megalon. You can't get your hands on that one anymore. It depresses me unutterably.
Why not?
There was some problem with the copyrights.
Toho is mean about their copyrights.
In fact, in the last days when they were producing those box sets with like 5 or 6 discs, there were apologies on the outside. They said, because originally they were doing dual releases of, there would be a box which had 2 movies in it. So you were getting like 12 movies. They were saying Godzilla versus Megalon and 2 others. I think Hedorah is one of them, but I can't remember all of them. But they say we've had to substitute this film instead of the Godzilla movie. Because while Toho gave them the rights to do it in first run, never to make home theater usage.
Didn't give them like syndication rights, yeah.
Exactly.
Yikes. Bummer.
Tom says, I remember Rocket Attack USA with Hugh Beaumont on MST3K.
I don't remember that one. That sounds like a good one. I would really like to see that one. Hugh Beaumont
actually, he did a few no-budget sci-fi films back in the day. He did Lost Continent. He did Attack of the Mole People. He did a few more I can't think of the top of my head. But yeah, before he became Beaver's dad, he made a few low-budget sci-fi flicks.
Right. My grandfather was in a sci-fi movie. He was an extra I guess it wouldn't be a sci-fi. It'd be more of a disaster movie. He's been in a couple movies actually as an extra because we lived in Southern California. Yeah, he was in the one with the avalanche, where the avalanche buried everybody in like the 70s. It's like an early 70s movie, and
with Rock Hudson.
I don't remember, but he played an extra. He was there, and they had him running with his not his wife, but his TV wife and kids, and he's running, and he did that one. He did a couple others too, just very briefly. So
the back of my head is in the movie Matinee, because I lived I went to high school like right across the street, literally across the street from Universal Studios in Florida. So a lot of Nickelodeon stuff they would get us from the high school, and a lot of movies like Matinee, which were filmed there. They would go to the high school, just like free extras. They didn't have to pay us. So yeah, the back of my head is in Matinee. You can only see it for about 5 frames, but
But it's
I know where they are. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tracy says, "Love me some Crow-T Robot."
I do too. I love Crow-T Robot. We had the little conversation about Crow-T versus Tom Servo,
yeah.
But I can't choose. That's one I can't choose. And then
Sophie's
you guys,
choice.
Yeah, I love both of them for different reasons. Crow-T is just way more overtly sarcastic, and then and Tom Servo's more of the reserved intellectual kind of person. So I like them both for different reasons. So go ahead.
I got to interject one more. Mr. Dave Sundstrom is in the house.
Hi, Dave. Hey, Dave.
And he says, get yourself an OTA antenna for one of those garage TVs, Thrash. I have one. That's the funny thing. I got one of those. Only problem is I don't have a digital converter for it. And all these TVs are all old style analog. So they play my old tapes and DVDs, and that's about it. I'll be honest with you, I tried. I actually took a TV onto my deck because I was hoping to get like persistence of vision. And I actually fiddled with it for like a couple of hours, trying to get the antenna up high enough, hoping someone in the area was still broadcasting in analog, and nope.
Nobody was broadcasting in analog, huh?
No dice. I tried, though. Good idea, Dave. Tracy goes on to say, I can't figure out, but there is one MST3K that I was watching that was hilarious, but I was so sick when I watched it. He said something about the Supreme Pizza. I wish I knew what episode.
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one to go on, too. I don't know if you put that into Google. You might be able to find
MST3K, yeah.
Yeah, you might be able to find it there. Let's see. Okay, I think we already saw that one. And Dave is in the house. Just want to say, hey, Dave. Glad you could be joining us. And we're going to go down here. Oh, the moon is much bigger than Pluto. Is the moon bigger than Pluto?
I'm not sure that's correct.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dave goes on to say, Lance, you've paid for 2 memberships on my channel. You need to cancel one of them.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
I didn't know.
I'm gonna be nice.
Dave having membership again because he shot everything to Patreon. And
when he closed out Patreon and went back to YouTube, he reopened up his memberships.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll definitely have to subscribe on there.
And he put out.
You have to do it on the computer. Like if you do it on mobile, it doesn't work. Like they don't have a button for subscriptions on memberships on mobile.
That's kind of weird because
it is really weird. Like, don't they want our money?
Right.
Oh, and he and Denny Staten both put out some very, very nice memorial posts for Mr. Richard Belzer.
Right.
Yeah. Coolest Reviews is here.
Says hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, Coolest Reviews. Good to see you. All right, let's see.
And Skip Rock Jr. says, Tracy will always be the real Crow. Kevin will always be the real Tom Servo. Trace and Frank will always be the real Mads. Joel will always be Joel. Can't argue with that. And Mike will always be Torgo.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the best I can do on such short notice.
I think you nailed it.
Sounded right.
Thank you. The master will be pleased.
Torgo pizza.
I didn't order sausage.
It's still warm. Like I forgot your breadsticks. That was pretty funny.
Do you know that guy was before he made that film? He was a fertilizer salesman. He wasn't even a filmmaker. He was an underemployed fertilizer maker who I guess started out making like some advertisement for his fertilizer, got bored with that, and made a horror film.
Oh wow! Well, good for him. He made a cult classic for sure. Trace will always be the real Crow. Yeah, the thing was I didn't even know that there was another guy for Crow until later, and I was just like, because their voices sounded
very close.
Yeah, so similar. But once I realized it, once that was pointed out to me, then I could tell. But before that, I couldn't tell at all. And Kevin will always be the real Tom Servo. Yeah, they had another Tom Servo too, but I don't really recall. When I learned that there was another Tom Servo, I hadn't gone back to to hear. Is it just the newest ones or what? Do you know? Does anybody know?
I have no idea
who the new Tom Servo is.
I know they changed at some point. I'm not 100% as to where.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Trace and Frank will always be the real Mads. And I have to agree with that. I think we talked a little bit about that when they exploded the Earth and then they had Pearl chasing them through space. At that point, I was really just watching it for the movies. The incidentals weren't that great for me, but the incidentals with Joel, I really enjoyed those. Like that was as much a part of it for me as anything, with the Joels and the Mads and the robots and stuff like that. That's really what made it special, made it just more than just like a riff tracks kind of a thing. But when they got into the air, but when they, because I love the Invention Exchange, and I loved their little, parody games and stuff that they would play. And, that was all part and parcel of it for me, anyway. But then when they got into the whole Pearl thing, it was at that point I kind of lost interest. I lost interest in the subtext of it. I didn't really lose interest in the movies until a little bit later. But
it's kind of weird to say considering the nature of the show, but it did kind of go off the rails at that point.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, considering the nature of the show, it did go off the rails. And I didn't even know why they did that originally. Like, I didn't know why. Because during those years, my viewing of it was a little spotty. And so I would just pick it up now and again. And then I realized, the reason why, because I kind of learned these things kind of all at once. Because the reason why is because Trace quit the show. And
right.
so they couldn't have him being a Mad anymore. So they had to invent this plot to kind of show why they're doing something different now. Anyway, let's see.
And Coolest Review says it's their delivery.
Yes. Is it Torgo delivery or the box
delivery? That's good.
Thank you. Zublik says, actually, the knights who say "nee" were paper tigers.
Oh, they're like in real life, maybe that's what he's talking about?
Well, paper tigers was a Cold War term that the Chinese military used to discredit the U.S. Forces. Said they were paper tigers. Said they looked really, really impressive, but had no fighting spirit. So I don't know if he's trying to belie the fighting spirit of the Knights Husseini. I know nothing about them other than the fact that Terry Jones used them as a pun in the Holy Grail.
Yes, but then they became the knights who say icky 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 patang zoop boing.
Okay.
We shall do no such thing. John Doe says HD was hello John, of course. HD was a high definition regular Blu-ray, which was more expensive to make. Blu-ray is cheaper and has a slightly lower frame rate than HD DVDs.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks for the knowledge.
But
didn't know that.
I mean, and it's true, but I think there's a reason why the Blu-ray went out. And for me, it goes back to that old Brian Regan joke, where you're going to pay for $1,000 plate, like at an event,
right?
And it's just like it's good, but it's not $1,000 good,
right?
It's like, I don't misunderstand me. And like at that point, like when I would watch, when I only have Blu-ray, but I did, manage to catch a copy of the red ones or the HD ones now and again, and it wasn't like I was like blown away. It was like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. And I think the same thing happened with the Betamax issue, because it was like the Betamax are better. I mean, they're higher quality, but it's not so much higher quality that you're willing to sacrifice half the playtime for them.
It's a
and
cost benefit thing,
Yeah. I mean, VHS is good enough. The same with the original disc player, the big disc ones.
Laser discs.
Put it in the laser disc. You had to put it in and pull it out because they could only hold so much information on it. They were higher quality too, but there's something to be said about convenience. I mean,
it's like Sega and Nintendo were successful while Neo Geo wasn't, because a Neo Geo cost like $700. but it was like definitely technically the superior machine.
Oh, okay, all right.
At a certain point, though, your eyes can't appreciate the quality difference anyway.
Yeah, especially as you get older, you know.
You know?
Right. So, did the Neo Geo, did that have like special games though that you couldn't get on the other two?
Yeah, it did, and I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but there's aficionados out there who know what they are, and who will tell you to this day they're better than anything Nintendo or Sega ever put out. But that's just console snobbery,
right?
Which is really high when you have to justify the fact that your parents probably paid $800 for a console. When you could have gotten a Nintendo for like $100.
Yeah, exactly. It's good enough.
Right.
I mean, and then the what you like is what you like. You know what I mean? You might not necessarily like the games on the Neo or whatever.
Yeah, I obviously really like Nintendo.
Obviously.
Well, when I was a kid, there was an economy evolved. Because when DVD was coming out, it was very expensive. You could buy 5 or 6 movies on videotape for one Laserdisc. And I would rather have a bigger library of I meant Laserdisc. I said DVD. I meant Laserdisc. I'm going back to when I was in high school. I would rather have a bigger library of lesser quality and be able to enjoy more movies than enjoy one movie a lot.
Yeah, right. One movie slightly better. Like
I know.
It's not like all that much better, especially the inconvenience of having to change it out as well.
I always hated that.
Gigantic laser discs. Yeah.
I always hated having to, because it's always at the best point. It's like, Luke, I am your dip.
Yeah. I remember there's a few VHSs like Ben-Hur you had to change out.
Any long movie, yeah.
The Good, Bad, the Ugly.
That's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a great one, and it breaks at the worst possible time.
It doesn't. Does it break at the worst possible time?
It cuts off just as Tuco's about to talk. It goes bip. I'm like, wait, what does he say? What does he say?
Don't spoil it for me.
I won't.
No, I'm just kidding.
Best movie
I'm pretty
ever.
sure it's past the statute of limitations on spoilers.
On spoilers, right.
But you never know. People get mad at me for spoiling 80-year-old movies on my channel. So
there is something to be said a little bit about that, though, because if it gets so old that people don't watch it for a long time, I think
if it's something old and obscure, sure, but I'm talking like Frankenstein,
Oh, yeah. I wonder what happens.
Nosferatu burns to dust in the sunlight.
Yeah.
Tom says Joel also did the TV show Freaks and Geeks.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. He played a clothes salesman. Did he play a clothes salesman or no? What did he play?
I think that's right. I only saw like a little bit of it. I didn't see a lot. I'm not like a big Freaks and Geeks head. So.
Yeah, I've only seen it all the way through one time. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't either, but I did like it. Freaks and Geeks was really
fun.
Good
yeah,
show.
But it just wasn't in my radar really.
Yeah.
John Doe says you do need. No, I'll come in again. You do not need a HD DVD player to play on regular DVDs. That was the big difference.
Oh, so you do need an HD DVD player to play on regular DVDs. Okay. I don't know. All righty, let's see what.
Do you guys remember DVD-Rs at all? I believe that's what they were called. They were disposable DVDs. Oh, I think these are the ones.
Yeah.
Okay. I have
Okay.
a whole stack of them. I don't use them, but I have them.
Weren't they the ones where you would record them and then they would play 2 or 3 times and then go kaput?
Basically, yeah. The quality's terrible.
The quality is terrible on those ones.
But like, it wasn't like the actual like image quality was fine. Like it still played like a regular DVD, but like Thrash was saying, it didn't last very long. Like you could only play it a few times before it would start to degrade.
Okay.
The worst was the rewritables, the DVD-RWs. Those were terrible. Those were absolutely awful. Like, I don't know why anybody would buy them.
Tracy Rosmeyer says also DVDs as well as VCR tapes. in and search from, like, let's say England, you can't put them on American machines. No, because England used the PAL system and we used VHS.
Right?
They used the what system?
We will use VHS, or as she said, VCR tapes. England used PAL, which had more bands of resolution. So they would become really grainy if you tried to play them on our systems. And of course, all DVDs are region coded. Weren't there at one point 8 different regions for DVD?
There still are, but like most DVDs nowadays are not region locked anymore.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Like new DVDs.
I do remember that. I do remember like my son-in-law. Like he has a bunch of DVDs that he left in Australia because they don't play here in the States. So he just left them all in Australia. So, okay.
Tracy goes on to say, most of my favorite things are from Europe or from Australia, and I can't play them here.
No,
yeah, that's the region lock and the PAL versus what's the other standard? It's NTSC, I think. That's like the big division.
NTSHC.
Something
There's
like that.
There's an H in there somewhere. I just call it VHS. Skip Rock Jr. says, the first time I saw MST3K was the third time I smoked funny cigarettes. Winston-Salem's very funny.
Yeah.
It was yeah, exactly. Terrelton. It was a match made in heaven. It was January 1995, and Comedy Central would replay MST3K every night from 10 to midnight.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, I get those funny cigarettes. They will help you out a lot on liking things.
Legal in Massachusetts, folks.
And Missouri now. Yeah.
It's legal almost everywhere.
Is it? I thought it was special.
No, I think medically legal almost everywhere.
Oh, no, here you can just walk into a store.
Recreationally, I think it's only legal in about 6 or 7 states, but technically, none of the states are actually legal because federally it's still illegal. But the feds aren't going to come breaking into your house because you're smoking pot.
No.
But what are they going to do, Haas? What are they going to do?
The thing is that those dispensaries, they only take cash because they can't take cards because it's the federal thing.
The federal,
yeah, they can't do federal funds, so they can't do anything with a card. You have to actually pay cash, and they have ATMs in all of them so that you can do it. So you can go. Believe me, I know a little bit about it. No, when my wife was trying some of that at the end of her treatment there, so we went, and I was going to Vegas regularly, so with my work, and we'd go to dispensaries down there and stuff, and they were explaining it to us. So anyway, all right, weird. We can't take credit cards. They're like, want to buy some of that? I'm like, nope, can't take credit card.
That is weird, but I guess it makes sense when you explain it.
Yeah, but even with a prescription, and even in the town that we were in, they wouldn't take credit cards. It wasn't just recreational. You couldn't take credit cards. You could not
just
take
at
credit
all,
cards at all. Yeah. All right, let's see.
Dave says, get yourself an OTA antenna for one of those garage TVs.
We already had this conversation.
We already had that. Well, that's what happens.
I'm getting deja vu all over again.
When you read that. Earlier, I think people are dropping out here. We'll read a few more here. Good night, John. Sorry.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Liz Girl. Good night, Stu Mop. Good night, Ma. Good night, Pa. Teb says, I know that MST3K has a lot of common with freaks and geeks because some of the people associated with MST3K had ever appeared or worked as writers on the beloved cult classic TV show.
Cool. Well, very interesting to know. Very interesting to know. And of course, as we said, Joel was on it. Let's see.
Zubalik says, which are your favorite MST3K episodes? ENC, T-Pawns, and Tug.
Red Zone Cuba, Mitchell, the Master Ninja, That's the Japanese Ape Men one. The Japanese.
Oh, that's a good one.
Those are some of my favorite. Ega is another favorite of mine. Oh, man, there's so many of them that are really good. So go ahead.
Manos, Hands of Fate. I mean, it's what I think is the funniest. Invasion USA is really good. The Night of the Living Dead, which I know I just stole Thrash's thunder, but it's a good one too.
Everyone knew I was going to say it, so
you go ahead, Thrash.
Okay. Giant Spider Invasion, Pod People, Lost Continent, not the Hammer film, the one with George Romero.
Right.
Did I say George Romero? Cesar Romero. You got me thinking Night of the Living Dead again. Manos Hands of Fate, of course. And you know what? I can't think of the name of it. A science fiction one that was really cool. Let's go with that.
Teenagers from Outer Space. That was the best.
That one was cool. That was cool.
Teenagers they were old teenagers. They made a joke about it, but these people came out of the thing looking like 30. And
the monster is a lobster. Who has not seen a lobster in their life? Like, duh. It's like, oh, what a strange creature. It's a lobster. I mean, granted, I grew up in New England. I see them all the time, but people in Nevada have seen lobsters.
I also like all the Gamera episodes. They're all pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Gamera, yeah.
I'm ashamed to think of that myself.
Yeah.
Skip Rock Jr. says, I was living at a place with Roku TV last year, and I would keep it on the 24-hour MST3K channel or the 24-hour Baywatch channel. Running the gambit there, aren't we? It was great. MST3K channel plays Cinematic Titanic and Riff Tracks 2.
Awesome. I when I had Pluto TV, I'd keep it on Mystery Science Theater for a while there. So I have watched them, fairly in the recent past.
Teb says, from what I understand, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is, in my humble opinion, the most famous holiday film ever featured on MST3K.
Could be, but they do have a Riff Tracks on the Star Wars holiday special. I don't know if you knew that or not. Have you seen that one? The Riff Tracks on the holiday Star Wars special? It exists.
I gotta watch that. I gotta look that up.
I saw the Riff Tracks on Santa Claus Meets the Ice Cream Bunny live.
Oh, okay.
They also did the one that was, I think it's the Mexican film. It's just called The Santa Claus.
Yeah,
Santa Claus fights the demon.
I mean, I don't know the Riff Tracks, but I know that movie. Yeah.
It has one of the most racist openings in cinematic history. I mean, you watch it, you're like, no, they did not. I guess they figure if you insult every race, color, and creed on the planet, then it's okay because you've leveled the field. But it's like, wow. But it is a very slick movie. It is, once you get past that scene. Oh, and for those of you, I know you guys don't particularly care for Jonah, but they did The Christmas That Almost Wasn't. And I actually loved that film on its own when I was a kid. So their depiction of it is pretty darn good. Teb goes on to say, didn't Mike Nelson start out as a writer before taking over the show as the main host featuring Joel Hoskins following Joel Hoskins' exit?
Yes, absolutely. He was the head writer, actually, the whole time he was the head writer. So from the very beginning, from what I understand anyway, but I'm not sure. I mean, I might not be from the very, very beginning, but from the very...
He was the head writer, and he also did a number of on-screen appearances as
Torgo.
This guy, Torgo.
He was Torgo. He was the giant. He was the giant guy. I remember the giant man. He was outside the spaceship. He was shaking the spaceship.
Oh, the Amazing Colossal Man. The Amazing Colossal Man. Yeah,
he did.
And he was also that beefcake henchman from Daddy-O. You know the guy. Hey.
Yeah.
The key. I need that key. The key. I know I'm so beefcake. Superflex says, Terrell, interestingly enough, Tug tried to do a live showing of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, and YouTube pulled the plug on that one.
I'm still bitter about it, too.
Thanks for being salt in the wound, Zoop. Skip Rock Jr. says they changed Tom Servo's voice at some time during the Mike years.
Okay, so that's when that happened, during the Mike years. Oh, let's see. What else we got here? All right. So I guess he was full. Anyway, I think people are just kind of going back and forth with each other here a little bit. This is let's see.
I thought Tracy said it was her bedtime. Night, Tracy.
Good night,
Tracy. Night, Tracy. Okay.
Zuplex goes on to say, what happened to Joel Hodgkins after MST3K?
I have no idea.
Good question.
I have no idea what he did. I have no idea. So it's that was kind of the thing for me that made me upset. Is this? He said he was going to go on to do other things, and I don't know what the heck he did. So.
I believe he produced a couple other shows. He was doing the producer thing in the Hollywood circuit for a while. I don't think any of them went anywhere, but that's what he always wanted to do. He wanted to produce TV shows, and he was doing that for a while.
He did have that cinematic Titanic thing. I think he was part of that.
Cinematic Titanic.
Yeah.
What's that?
I don't know exactly, but it was kind of the same idea, that it like an MST3K type of thing where they were riffing B movies. But I never saw it, so I can't really speak intelligently on the subject. I just know it was a kind of its own thing.
He did do a couple walk-ons on the newest incarnation of MST3K too.
Yeah, he did. He was back on an episode with Mike too. On one of the episodes with Mike, he made a special guest appearance. Let's see. Oh, Sean Innes.
Hey, Sean, what's going on, man? Ugh. Sorry I'm late. On the phone with my kid having a great conversation. Hey, all.
Hey, Sean.
More than understand.
Talking to your kids is more important than us. I mean, I don't mean to speak for you guys.
Daily Dan, the good stuff says ENC may be cooler than you thought.
I hope. I don't know.
he's referring to the ganja.
Oh,
because you partake. Supposedly. I don't know what state are you in. No, you don't know. Never. No, never. They're gonna start knocking on your door next.
I tried it. Anyway, we'll leave
on advice of counsel.
I know, really. As your personal physician and attorney, I must insist you do not answer that question.
Say when it's past the statutes of limitations. It was like yesterday. How long?
It's an short statute. Anyway, 30 years. Hey, some states have gotten away with them. I'm like, that is so not fair. I only committed the crime because I thought I could wait it out.
Yeah.
That is so not fair. Life is not fair. Wear a helmet.
I'm skipping a bunch of these. I'm sorry. I think it's kind of.
We're all wearing ball caps. I just noticed that. You guys noticed that? We're all wearing ball caps tonight.
Well, there was a comment that was made. I think it was made by. It was either. I think it was Zuperplex.
It was Zuper. Yeah.
Comment. Was it? He said, "Yeah, if you don't have a ball cap or a beard, you need not apply." Because we're all wearing ball caps and have beards. So
I just don't want to blind you with the glare off of my head.
Well, mine's way too frizzy. I have that frizzy hair thing.
Messy hair, yeah. I just
you guys have much more hair than I do, so I'm waiting until I can get the full Picard look.
Nice. Gotcha. Well, you can have the full Picard look anytime.
That's true. I could just shave what I've got left up there.
Right.
You do the Terry Bradshaw thing. You're great. When you have the hat on, you look at your hair. You take it off, it just stops right at the edge here.
Right.
What is it? Hang on. What's this say here?
Zuplex again. Goody. Zuplex says, "Where can I find one?" I'll come in again. Where can one find that one ENC?
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. Where can one find?
Even when I reread
it,
didn't make any sense.
One of help us out. Yeah. Maybe he'll answer down here. We
The
await your
devil's in the
answer.
details.
I'm down in the bottom of the
9th.
Oh, there we go. Oh, let's see.
Zublik says Bradshaw was bald when he was with the Steelers. Yeah, but he wore a helmet, so you couldn't tell.
Ah, gotcha.
Daily Dan says, LOL, as I get older, my hair looks more and more like Hulk Hogan.
You need to get that black dyed like goatee to go with it.
Sean Innes says, well, yeah, he is important, but really this was a great conversation with plenty of pop culture stuff like what we're talking about here.
This is an important conversation.
This is very important. Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. All right. Well, I think we've kind of run to the end of this. We're down at the end of the comments. I think if I missed any, I apologize, but I just was kind of glancing over them. I'm not the best reader, as it were, but so I might have missed some comments, but I think that it was just a lot of people kind of talking back and forth and stuff like that. So, where can you get that one? The riff of Star Wars Holiday Special. I think you can look it up on YouTube, as I recall. But I mean, I think a Google search will yield it for you. But
the funny cigarettes are optional.
Yeah, exactly. The funny cigarettes are optional. All right, all right. Well, everyone. Well, I just want to thank you. What's Unapologetic Geek Tug, aka what's going on your channel?
Well, I just dropped a review of the 1940 Invisible Woman, one of the Universal classics.
Oh, cool.
Now I'm working on a review of Dark Star, the John Carpenter short student film.
Cool.
And then next Sunday, I've got a live stream on my channel. Hopefully, I'll have my StreamYard set up by then, where me and my buddies on the From Here to Paternity podcast that I do, like we're just gonna have a riff on our favorite movie dads. So, and then sometime next month, I'm gonna have you two on. So,
okay, all right. We'll do the podcast too. I love the podcast.
Okay,
all right. That dad thing, movie dads. That sounds pretty hip.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let me know. Give me a heads up on the subject so I can be brushed up.
Okay.
I can be brushed up over it, but that'd be cool. And Thrash, what do you got going on over at your channel these days? What do you got coming up next?
I just posted earlier today a long-awaited Wretched recap. It was based on a comic gifted to me by John Doe. Thank you. I've been doing my live chats. I've been getting 2 in a week as I've been underemployed for the last month or so. But the big news is I'm going to be guesting on BK on the Air this coming Saturday. Woo-hoo. He and Alan have graciously invited me to grace them with my presence, and I have got on my hands and knees and thanked them. So that's the big news, and that'll be, of course, this coming Saturday. Watch for it on either their podcast or when he goes ahead and posts it on YouTube, usually the following week.
Okay, well, cool, awesome. That's really cool. I need to get on that too. He's offered to have me on, and I just have not connected bases with him well enough yet. I'm going to be thinking of a new podcast and episode this week as well. Eventually, we'll get around to doing the Lost thing here pretty soon, and working on my 5 things you didn't know. Those ones are a little bit slower. Honestly, they're only those are only like 12. Most of them are under 15 minutes, and they take the longest to do. They take longer than these ones. They take longer than the podcast to do because there's a lot of cutting and editing and writing with those ones, where you do a podcast and you're just sitting around talking, where on those ones they're scripted out, and and so those ones take a little bit longer. But I am working on my next one. Probably Terrell asked 5 things you didn't know about the X-Files, and so I might do a 5 things you didn't know about the X-Files. So anyway, all right. Well, Eric, before we leave, please, the last video that we did, the MST3K one, Would you share that on all your social media as well? I don't know if you did or not, but if
I
you would.
just did like an hour before we started recording, but I
cool.
will make sure it's on all of my socials and not just Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. That means a lot to me. That's actually going pretty well. It's like up to
Good.
like almost 200 views. So
Woo-hoo.
that's a little unusual. I mean, honestly, sometimes I'll get some of them that'll go like 400, but that's like really high and very unusual. But most of them are around like, like 80 views, somewhere around there, which is good. I mean, I enjoy every view, but for some reason, the Mystery Science Theater one just struck people. People are watching, and I got new subscribers out of it too.
That's
because
great.
People are like commenting and all. Oh, I came over from this, and this was on my feed, and so this was a providential strike. So all right, guys, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll talk to you again real soon. Take care and be safe.